Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Okay, happy Thursday everybody. India will officially surpass China to become the world's most populous country by July this year. That is according to the UN Population Fund's World Population Dashboard numbers published yesterday, Wednesday. In practice, demographic shifts are very slow-moving, long-term processes, and this development will have no immediate real-world effects in terms of population patterns. However, symbolically and perhaps psychologically, China's official dethronement as the world's most populous nation is indeed a historic milestone. China's population fell in 2022 for the first time in 60 years, as deaths outstripped births and left the overall number of people at 1.41 billion. The country's birth rate has been in long-term decline for years now. Some demographers argue that the official data has long overcounted the population due to political sensitivities, and that China's population has been in decline for some years already, in which case India would have surpassed China some time ago. For example, here is a graphic provided by Peter Zion's team last year, with the yellow bars representing the more dire estimations of population overcounting if it happened. Whether or not overcounting occurred and to what degree, based on official numbers, India will overtake China as the world's most populous country in the coming months. What was Beijing's initial reaction to this UN projection? Quote, "I want to tell you that population dividends don't only depend on quantity, but also on quality. Our population dividend has not disappeared. Our dividend is forming, and the impetus for development is strong." End quote. And this from the state-run Global Times yesterday, quote, "India's infrastructure, supporting legal systems, education and other parameters cannot match its population growth, meaning that India still lacks the bridges or the preconditions to achieve its demographic dividend." End quote. We should note that the UN projection is for mainland China. It doesn't include Hong Kong and Macau's populations, for example. We also note that China's economy is still far bigger than India's, and likely will remain so for some time. But dropping officially to the world's second most populous nation is yet another reminder of China's slow and long-term population decline, its rapidly aging population, and its growing demographic challenges. Next up, the head of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences in the most recent edition of the so-called Contemporary World, 当代世界, published a piece called Revealing the Laws of the Rise and Fall of Civilizations and Outlining the Development Path of Civilization, the Theoretical Significance and Practical Value of the Global Civilization Initiative, GCI. This article gives us clues as to how Beijing is conceptualizing the new Global Civilization Initiative policy at the ideological level. We will examine some of the main points made in the article. Our purposes here are not to poke holes in the arguments, though as we will see the piece is vulnerable to such refutations, but rather to get a sense of the current ideological zeitgeist among Beijing elite generally, as well as the ideological framework of this new initiative specifically. Quote, "General Secretary Xi Jinping first proposed the Global Civilization Initiative at the high-level dialogue between the Communist Party of China and world political parties, providing a profound answer to the question of modernization in human society. This initiative has injected confidence and strength into promoting the inclusive coexistence, exchange, and mutual learning of different civilizations, achieving the modernization process of human society, and enriching the world civilization garden." End quote. The piece then moves its framing to pit the ideology against Western competition. Quote, "Some Western countries, taking advantage of their economic, technological, and military advantages since modern times, have promoted the superiority of Western races, cultures, and civilizations, portraying Western civilization as the end point of human history. This view of civilization, characterized by a distinct capitalist ideology, not only renders Western culture increasingly narrow and closed, but also exacerbates conflicts among civilizations and excites ethnic hatred and unrest. We absolutely do not engage in cultural colonization
or ideological export, nor do we seek to change the political systems and development models of other countries or interfere in their internal affairs. We resolutely oppose any form of civilization superiority and attempts to transform or even replace other civilizations, striving to achieve harmonious coexistence and shared prosperity among different civilizations." End quote. The piece then shows its leftist and Marxist credentials and its ultimate intent to form a new world order. Quote, "As a Marxist party striving to achieve social equality and justice, the Communist Party of China has always supported the efforts of developing countries to establish a new international order. This new order aims to end hegemonism and power politics, promote the democratization of international relations, and grant every member of the international community a voice in international affairs. The Global Civilization Initiative is in line with the historic development trend, providing a Chinese answer to the question of modernization in human society." End quote. Next up, the Chinese economy. Hey guys, if you enjoyed today's episode of China Update, don't forget to hit that like button. Sharing and subscribing is a huge help as well. It's only me making these episodes every day. It's a lot of work, but your guys' support is a huge source of motivation, so thank you very much. As always, anyone who can go that extra mile and help keep the channel sustainable, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. There is also the super thanks function in YouTube itself. As always, thank you so much, everybody, for the ongoing support. Yesterday, we discussed the official economic data for Q1, which was published on Tuesday. We concluded that while the numbers were mixed, on balance they were promising and signaled that China would see a rebound in activity this year. It was also the consensus among mainstream media and analysts that the retail spending, a good proxy for consumption, was a positive surprise. This remains the consensus, but there have been some contrarian views which have critiqued this interpretation. Because consumption will play such a key role in China's recovery this year, it is worth examining some of these contrarian points. The Substack China Charts, for example, which is put together by two finance professionals working in China, published analysis of the retail performance yesterday. The analysis concludes that the headline number of a 10.6% increase for March is mainly due to a lower comparison from March the previous year, arguing, quote, "Actually, March retail sales are down 2% from the January plus February average. That suggests to us that the nascent recovery is stumbling," end quote. They continue, quote, "But beware, April 2022 is an even lower comparison. If April's retail sales match March's, then April would be a whopping 28.3% increase year on year. Any surveyed estimates below 25% you should dismiss immediately, though we expect many will cheer that China's consumer is back with revenge spending," end quote. Meanwhile, yesterday, the National Bureau of Statistics published official data for the property industry. Now again, due to the ongoing housing crisis, the property sector is quite sensitive, so we take these numbers with a grain of salt. If the data are accurate, China's property industry rebounded for the first time in more than a year, with the real estate sector growing 1.3% in Q1 year on year. This is up from a very low base though. In Q1 last year, the sector plunged 7.2%. We also remember from Tuesday's data that new housing starts plunged almost 20% year on year in the first quarter. In addition, China's property investment fell 5.8% during the same period. Nevertheless, mainstream financial media is arguing that China's housing sector may have finally turned a corner, and some commentators and analysts are already raising their growth projections for 2023. Quote, "The data added to evidence that the property market bottomed out after the government ramped up support for major developers and cities loosened curbs on home purchases. Economists are becoming more bullish about the growth outlook, with several major banks raising their 2023 growth projections close to 6% or higher," end quote. Thus, all eyes are now on household consumption and the shaky housing sector stabilization, and asking, Will they hold? In the coming months, we will find out. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much everybody for watching. Have a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will see you all tomorrow.